Hey guys, this video will contain spoilers for Arc 5 and potentially Arc 6, so do keep that in mind. I highly recommend that you check my video summarizing Shadows of Conspiracy and Declaration of War, and also, you don't have to do it, but it would be good if you have read The Day I Gave Up on Being a Following Star, which is again a side story revolving around Al using his ability on Leap Barriel. The most interesting thing about Al's ability is that it's only used a handful of times over the course of the series, such as against Capella in Arc 5. It's also used in the untranslated side story Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, in which Priscilla gets assassinated and Al is able to use his ability to reset the world and essentially bring her back to life, with no one remembering that Priscilla had actually been assassinated. The only person that can remember is Al. Also, if you've seen my Al knows Satella video, which I made a few days ago, I made a big error where I misquoted the side story. I called it Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but what I actually meant to say was Sunlight on the Water, and that's actually where Al meets Satella. In fact, I'm pretty sure this image is from that exact moment where the shadowy hands are reaching out at Aldebaran. As you can see, he's sweating and stuff. So quick correction there. Before I begin, I would like to thank Gourmet of Gluttony from Reddit for providing the information for this video. Anyways, the first thing you need to know about Al's ability is that it cannot be activated at all times. In fact, if we look at the side story, The Day I Gave Up Being a Following Star, we can see that initially, when Aldebaran is facing Leap Barriel, the conditions for his trump card is met. However, shortly after, Aldebaran states that he cannot use his trump card. So that means that for his ability to work, he needs to meet certain conditions, and we do not know what these conditions are. When Al activates his ability, space-time essentially warps around him, creating this territory, and anyone in this range around him is affected by his ability. Of course, we don't know the range of this ability or what you can do to break out of this ability, but this is all we know for now. When Aldebaran's territory is invoked, he's randomly assigned a role. This is the reason why he always calls it a bet or a gamble. And he can either be a victim or a subjugator. Now keep in mind, I've made these role names up because we haven't been given an official title. I mean, you could literally make up your own role names if you wanted to, but for the sake of this video, I'll be calling them Victim and Subjugator. If Aldebaran is set as a victim, his ability is essentially Return by Death, so it's very similar to Subaru's. If you kill Aldebaran, he will just respawn back in time and no one will remember him, and he will just continue on with the information he has. In fact, he did this versus Capella, and if you read Arc 5, you can see the disconnect where Capella's like, "What? You haven't even tried to dodge anything?" And Aldebaran's like, "Yeah, I've been trying so many times." So it's obvious that he has Return by Death at this point, and he's been set as a victim because Capella cannot remember killing Al at all. On top of acting as Return by Death, he can actually reset the world when people he likes are in the territory and they die. So for example, in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, I mentioned this before, but Priscilla gets assassinated and Al is able to just revert the world and Priscilla comes back to life. His ability also acts as a save and load mechanic, because in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, he's able to 1v1 zombies and kill them effectively in a 1 versus 1 by saving and reloading to get the optimum setup to kill the zombies in a 1-on-1 fight, because he couldn't fight them all at once. Another important factor is the fact that Al can die many times, however he's not affected by his death like Subaru is. As stated in Declaration of War, Al is killed up to 1,000 times and he doesn't feel any different, but maybe again that's the reason why he wears the helmet, to hide his emotions. So in short, if you want a summary for the victim role, it's on screen now. So as stated, it acts as Return by Death. Al remembers that he has died. Other people in the territory do not remember anything if the territory is reset. Al can save and reload his checkpoint. It can be used to save allies, and dying doesn't bother Al mentally. If Al is given the role of subjugator like it is with Leap Barriel, then it acts in pretty much the same way. However, Al cannot remember if he's been killed, whereas his opponent can. So in this case, Aldebaran was killed over and over again, but Leap was essentially trapped in this cycle of Al just respawning, wondering what happened, and Al was then killed again, and this would keep processing over and over again, and Al would eventually cancel the ability, and Leap Barriel would be mind broken because he's essentially been cycled thousands of times and his mind will break. Of course, from Al's perspective, only a second has passed once he cancels his ability and his opponent just gets mind broken, and this is the reason why Leap Barriel is mentally incapacitated and why Priscilla is of course running the Barriel manor. So in short, if you want a summary, Al does not remember that he has died. Other people in the territory do remember what has happened and that Al has been killed, but he just simply respawns. Al can break the territory whenever he wants, and in his perspective, it's only been like a second, but for his enemies, it's been like, it could be a very long time, and they'll become mind broken. If it's hard to visualize, just imagine Rem's perspective when she sees Subaru randomly collapse in episode 15, so it's essentially just like that. The most interesting thing is that during the fight with Capella, Al actually does hint that the territory he creates can be broken in some way, shape or form. This is after the cave-in occurs and Al has to jump into the waterway, and he states, "Stop kidding around, if this territory comes undone, I'll actually die." So there is a way to break this ability. I'm not sure if Subaru's ability can cancel it out with Beatrice, I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait and see his ability and how it works in Arc 7. A lot of people believe because Priscilla is so smart, she actually knows that Aldebaran has some form of return by death or some form of ability. However, if we were to look at Tape's questions and answers for Priscilla, this is actually what he says about it. If you were to ask Priscilla whether or not she knows that Al could return by death, how she would respond is with the following: "Return by death? I don't know what you're talking about." Now, of course, this could be a tongue-in-cheek response by Tape. Maybe Priscilla knows that Al has an ability and she calls it something else. She might not call it return by death. But I'm just giving you that information so you guys can come up with your own theories. Anyways, that's it for this video. By the way, my next video should be the side story Arc 7 prelude involving Felt and Reinhard when they take Sirius back to the royal capital. It's one of the 3 side stories bundled with volume 24 along with Typhon's Trial, which I have on my channel, which I recommend you go and watch. And of course, the final side story bundled is Declaration of War, which you should have watched before watching this video anyway. But that's it for now, and I'll speak to you guys next time.